What's up, church? Good to see you today. Thank you so much for making Obi-Wan a part of your weekend. If you don't know who I am, my name is Chris. I'm one of the pastors here. It's my privilege to share with you today. How many remember one of your very first jobs? Very first job. So I still remember one of my very first jobs. It was Mickey D's, baby. Yes. Can anybody sing the Big Mac song for me? No, I can't even sing it, so we're good. But I remember one of my very first jobs. I was raking it in at $4.25 an hour. It was amazing. Talk about the high life. Yes. But seriously, back then, a couple $100 when you're still living with your parents was a big deal. You could actually go out and have fun with your friends without your parents around. You felt in complete freedom. I even had a pager. I was cool. You knew that you were cool when the pager strip was outside of your jeans. I know it's shocking, but I knew how to be cool back then. Notice I said back then. There was a day where a couple $100 was a big deal to any of us. And for most of us, unless you're living in college right now, eating cold pizza and ramen noodles, and for some of you that took you back, what was your favorite? Shrimp ramen noodles, chicken ramen noodles? We make substantially more now than we did before, but we still feel like we don't have enough. Now I get context is different. Back then you lived with your parents and now you're living on your own. But even when we're used to living on our own, even when we get raises, we still feel at times like we don't have enough. Ever been there? Where you've had more month than money? Ever been there where you got paid on the 15th and your money says bye-bye to you by the weekend? Right? Have you ever stayed up or woke up worried about how you're going to pay for something? And even if you have enough, has money ever affected a relationship that you have? I won't look at my wife right now. I'll just look in this direction, okay? So if I just cock my head the whole message, no, I'm just teasing. We're good, people. We're good. Our message video is such a good image of what it feels like to be strapped. It can take over our life if we let it. It can keep you on edge. It can strain your relationships. It can tempt you to doubt God. It can put you in unhealthy life cycles, and it can make you feel trapped. And as my pastor friend says, as long as you're trapped, you'll feel strapped. Sorry, I put that the wrong way. As long as you're strapped, you'll feel trapped. Some of you need to write that down. As long as I'm strapped, I'll feel trapped. It can have such a significant effect on us that even when we do have a little and we're starting to see ourselves gain in life, we're still worried about losing it, so we never have to go back there again. It takes time, and it won't happen overnight, but thankfully we can live unstrapped. When it comes to our finances, we can live in freedom. We can live with peace. We can be generous like many desire to be. Now, I want to say something up front. You might not walk away from this message feeling this spiritual epiphany, but the Bible talks about money quite a bit. Jesus himself talks about money. I know it's shocking. Why is that? Was Jesus money hungry? Was he obsessed with money? Is money wrong? No. Jesus knew that it would be the number one competitor of our hearts if it wasn't left in check. He knew we'd be tempted to be obsessed with money because we deal with it every day and we practically need it to survive and move ahead. So he gives us consistent reminders. Hey, money's not number one. Also, because money is such a daily issue, the Bible gives much wisdom about it. Lots of wisdom. So for the next few weeks, we're going to get very practical so that you have the tools you need to live the unstrapped life. Everybody say unstrapped life. Unstrapped. Yes, we're going to live the unstrapped life. Now, if you need help implementing financial principles in your life, please don't be embarrassed. Please don't be. If you're someone that struggles with numbers or financial principles, please ask for help. Listen to this. According to Brad Klontz, a financial psychologist who teaches at Creighton University, I know this is going to be shocking. You're more likely to hear from your buddy that he's on Viagra than that he has credit card problems. Now, I don't know. I'm sure there's nobody in the room saying, I'm on Viagra too. None of us are going to say that, but you're more likely to hear that than I'm struggling financially. Can you help? Please reach out to someone you trust. Reach out to someone you know that's good with numbers, that can help you work through your personal finances. Even if you're doing well, this message is for you because it's so easy to have a strapped mindset and heart, among other things. Even when we have a little, we worry, we have fear, and life just has so many demands after demands, doesn't it? And we get trapped by those demands. All of us need the Bible to help us gain healthy perspective about finances. And we want that for you as well. OB1, the whole reason we're doing this series is we want you to have peace. We want you to be in financial freedom. Having an unstrapped mindset is so important that I want to address it even before we get into the super practical. So on the screen, you can follow along in your notes, on your cell phone, in your Bible, on the screen, whatever's comfortable for you. It says this in Proverbs 25. A person without self-control is like a city whose walls are broken through. Circle without self-control or underline it if you have it on your phone. Because if you're going to be someone that goes from strapped to unstrapped, very simply, you need to acknowledge my emotions, but let wisdom win. Acknowledge my emotions, but let wisdom win. How many Lord of the Rings fans do we have in the room? Some, and most of you have seen the movie. It's like, yes, one ring to rule them all. My precious. Right? Yes, those movies are awesome, right? Even if you haven't seen the movies, you'll get the point. In these movies, they spend a substantial amount of this movie trying to bust down the walls of cities. Why do they do that? Because they know that that city's protection is gone if they can break through the walls. And it becomes a complete mess. I want you to picture that in your head right now. Broken down walls. Because this is what happens to our finances when we don't have self-control and our emotions win out. Our financial walls come down. Wisdom can help us stay in control. It can help us win, and it can help our walls stay up. Whether if it's from our upbringing, convictions, or experience, emotions play a huge role in how we use and spend money. In balance, it's fine to have emotion. It's just when our emotions make us overspend and our emotions is winning instead of wisdom. For some, if they just sleep on it and talk to God for 1, 2, 3 days, they would start winning instead of letting emotions win. Have you ever said this? I have to have this. I have to have this wouldn't win out. I know that this isn't the right thing to do. That wouldn't win out. Our wisdom would win out. Let me give you a few examples of our emotions here. If I encourage some of you to ease some financial tension by cutting back on your favorite lunch spot, you'd be like, don't you dare touch my burrito. Jesus' favorite fruit is burrito. Don't touch my burrito fund. That's when I'm closest to Jesus. Don't you dare touch that, right? you'll die. I won't even bring up Starbucks. That's a cult. So no, I'm teasing. If you have a Starbucks, you're okay. Jesus still loves you. If I encourage some of you to sell your expensive car and get a reliable car, reliable cars are cool too. They need homes, people. Reliable cars need homes too. They need protecting. But if I encourage you to sell your more expensive car for a reliable car to ease the tension so you had a smaller payment, some of you want to run me over with that expensive car. I get it. We'll go outside right now. Run me over. It's okay. I'll still love you, maybe. If I encourage some of you to maybe cut down on your fun some, not all, but some of your fun to invest into your future, you're like, oh no, it's on. I work hard for this. I'm on the 8 for 48.6 minutes a day each way just to get to a job. It's on. I'll show you fun, right? We have emotions. Emotions play a part. Have you ever thought this? Man, I'd be so much happier if I had this. Man, life would be so much easier if I had this. What just happened? We admitted that we have emotions, and it's okay to acknowledge our emotions. It's not even wrong to get things every once in a while for pleasure, but we just can't let our emotions win out. You know another emotion that many of us face, if you're a parent, when we have to say no to our kids. Especially when we've had to go without in that area and it's very personal and our kids are not going to go through what I went through when I was younger. No way, no how. And I want you to hear this in balance. If you're a parent, yes, it is our job to provide for, to sacrifice, and to bless our kids. But can I tell you, a no never really hurt a teenager. They might whine like it does, but a no can actually help. Do you know that some of my greatest financial or just blessings came from a no? It didn't feel like it at the time, but it came through a no. So if you want to live unstrapped, you've got to get to a place where you acknowledge your emotions, but let wisdom win out so that your financial walls are not destroyed. Okay, let's get super practical. What can we do to live unstrapped? What step can we take? It's going to take a while, but how do we take off one strap at a time? Now, while I'm sharing these things, I want to repeat things a couple times so that you hear it. If you feel like you struggle with things, again, don't be embarrassed. If you struggle with personal finances, we're going to actually dive deeper into this subject in March. We're having an Unstrapped workshop. You can go on our website right now and sign up for that, okay? So you can go right now. I don't even care. Just go there right now. Some of you might be doing really well with the things that I'm about to share. That's great. While I'm sharing, ask God who you can help. Because sometimes it's about who we can help if we're already doing well in an area. I've been financially coaching people for years, and it's because I want to see others helped as well. The Unstrapped workshop might be for you too. If you're doing well, you might want to help with one someday. Or just by being there at this one, you can give some insights that might be really valuable to someone. So sign up, go to the website, sign up for it. But now let's go to the Bible to see how we can take off one strap at a time. Jesus was sharing with others about the cost of following him. Now, don't hear me wrong, salvation is free. It's by grace through faith in Jesus Christ. But once we come to Christ, there is a cost to following him, and he's talking about that. He's like, hey, you need to count the cost of following me. So I want you to use these verses as this example to where you can analyze, hey, I need to count the costs as I follow Jesus in every aspect of my life. That said, in these verses that we're about to read, there's wisdom about literal cost and money principles as well that Jesus is speaking of. So let's go to it. In Luke 14, it says this. Suppose some want to build a tower. Won't he sit down first and figure out how much it will cost? Then he will see whether he has enough money to finish it. Suppose he starts building and is not able to finish. Then everyone who sees what he's done will laugh at him. They will say, this fellow started to build, but he wasn't able to finish. If you're going to be someone that goes from strapped to unstrapped, it's very important to build a solid financial plan. Notice the imagery Jesus uses. Figure out how much it will cost, then you'll know that you have enough. Hey, he's saying most wouldn't just start building until they drew up some blueprints and made sure that they had enough for nails and screws and the right tools and the wood and the foundation, all of that. They need to know that they had enough. This is why it's so important to build a solid financial plan. It helps you have enough. Think of it this way. A solid financial plan is your walls of defense. It helps wisdom win instead of your emotions. Some think a budget is restrictive, but it keeps you free. Listen to financial expert Dave Ramsey. He says it this way. A budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Right? Have you ever been there? It's like, where did it go? I just got paid. Because it's so daily. Money is so daily. It's so important to do what Jesus said. Stop, sit down, and figure it out. A solid financial plan takes time. You need to be able to analyze it. Is this emotion-based? Is this wisdom-based? It takes time to draw up the blueprints of a good foundation and structure. I've been doing financial coaching, as I said, for quite a long time now. And what I've discovered most of the time is people have enough to live off of. They just struggled with building a solid financial plan. And even if you already have a solid financial plan, I'd still recommend you look over your budget once or twice a year. Not to obsess over it, just to make sure that it's still working for you. Even a well-made house. I'm not bitter when I'm about to say this. This morning, cold shower. My wife texted me. I had a cold shower too. Both of us had cold showers. Why? Our heater might be going. Even though our walls are up and it's really awesome and we live there, a house still has leaks. House still has repairs. And so even if you have a solid financial budget, it's still looking over it from time to time to make sure that it's still serving you well. Now, even though you're the one that needs to build this solid financial plan or get advice from others or come to our Unstrapped workshop, let me give you a few life hacks that will help. These hacks may be new for you, even if they're not. Like I said, use these as fresh reminders as you comb through your financial plan, or use these as reminders to help you give insight to other people. But it says this in Malachi 3. This is where we'll start for our first life hack. Bring the entire tenth to the storeroom in my temple. Then there will be plenty of food. Put me to the test, says the Lord. Circle the word then. Then is so important. Then you will see that I will throw open the windows of heaven. I will pour out so many blessings that you will not have enough room for them. Number one, if you're going to be someone that goes from strapped to unstrapped, give back to God first. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, not because it's not important. It is super important. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because Pastor Julian is going to address this later on in our series, this topic of giving. But can I say this, though? I shared that you need to build a solid financial plan. And while there are many, many, many life hacks that will help, the best one that I know to give you to put your plan on solid ground is to say, give it back to God first. Notice what the verse said. It says, bring the entire 10, then God will throw open heaven. It could have said he'd throw up just like a micrometer of earth, and that would have been good enough for me. He's saying he'll throw open heaven to help and bless. Guys, the Bible can be trusted. And I've seen this firsthand in my own life. Countless times, even when I was the one at night worried, God, how are you going to do this one? And I'm wringing my hands and, God, are you still there? And he's just like, just wait. I know you're worried right now, let me give you some peace about that, but just wait. It's going to be so cool. You want to live unstrapped. Give back to God first. Paul, the writer of 1 Timothy, mentored someone named Timothy. That's probably why they called it 1 Timothy. In his letter to him, Paul gives him some money thoughts on different, he gives advice on so many different things, but in chapter 6, he gives Timothy some unstrapped thoughts. Here's one of them. Hey, share with others to put their hope in God, not money. Now, why would he say that? Because money is it's not bad, it's just so uncertain. God is always certain. God can always be relied upon. And isn't that such a great unstrapped thought? I need to be reminded, okay, my hope is in God, not money. So let's look at another piece of 1 Timothy 6 to discover our next life hack. Because again, throughout the chapter, he's sharing unstrapped money thoughts with Timothy. And it says this: you gain a lot when you live a godly life, but you must be happy with what you have. We didn't bring anything into the world. We can't take anything out of it. If we have food and clothing, not Lamborghinis and $1 million mansions. Not wrong. Again, don't take it that. If we have food and clothing, we'll be happy with that. Number 2, if you're going to be someone that goes from strapped to unstrapped, simply protect my walls. If God has provided for you, it's time to be thankful. What does the verse say? If we have food and clothing. Now, there's at least a couple of Bible scholars that think the word clothing also includes shelter. And there's nothing wrong with having more, but one of the reasons people get strapped is because they're not content and happy with what they have. And Paul's saying, hey, the chase for more left unchecked, it's going to get you in trouble. And before you know it, the straps are going to be tighter and tighter than ever before. A happy heart really does start with a thankful heart with what we have, being thankful for having your basic needs met. Here's one example of being thankful. This is why some Christ followers, before they have a meal, say thank you to God. They're just wanting to admit, God, even for this small thing, this meal that I have before me, I thank you for it because you provided for it. Now, I'm not saying you have to go home and say a thank you before your meal. Don't take it that way. I'm just trying to say that even in these seemingly smaller things like meals or other little things, we can be reminded, wow, we have so much to be thankful for. So much to be thankful for. Thankfulness can help us be content with what we have instead of negative emotions like jealousy and envy, like, look at their new car. I only have a 2017, they have a 2026, and it's not even 2026 yet. How did they get that thing? We've all been there, right? One of the ways we can show our thankfulness in action is by making sure that we have enough in our budget for the basics instead of overspending, which can often be because we're not content. God, thank you for providing enough for me when it comes to the basics. I will make sure to keep my 4 walls up. I will not overspend. Here's the thing, though. Wants and needs can get a little fuzzy, can it? I love kids. I love kids a lot. I especially love kids when they're at that age where they think you know what they're saying. It's around 3 where they're so confident and bold. They could say that they're about to kill you, and you're like, great, that's awesome, you're so cute, right? This is that sage of blah, 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 blah. You understand like one word. I was having a conversation with my niece, Jordan, at that age, and she's just going to town. I can't understand a word. I'm like, that's so awesome. All I can understand is when she says Uncle Da. She calls me Uncle Da, long story. She just keeps talking. I'm like, Jordan, that's so amazing. That's so awesome. Well, mean mommy gets on the phone and says, Jordan, it's time for bed. And blah, blah, blah. No, I need da, blah, blah, blah. I was like, Katie, let her stay on the phone. She needs her uncle. This is serious. In all seriousness, actually, haven't we all been there? I need this. I need this. And most times, that's emotion-based, not wisdom-based. And I will say it again. I'm going to repeat it a couple times. While it's okay to have things beyond the basics, those things should never come at the cost of the basics. So let's address these basics so that we don't continue to confuse wants versus needs. Dave Ramsey calls them the 4 walls. Let's call them, for the sake of today, my 4 walls of defense. And you'll see them up on the screen. Food. You definitely need to eat. Now, it might be mac and cheese instead of lobster and steak, but you will thank God for that mac and cheese. Even if it's 18 days in a row, you put a little seasoning on that and you are good to go, baby. But you need food, right? Next one, housing, including your utilities. You need a roof over your head, and you need to be able to pay your utilities so you have running water and electricity. Clothing. Now, I know this is a shocker to some because you'd rather run around naked. All power to you when you're over your roof, but in most situations, you need the clothing, right? Now, here's the difference. It might not be the $100 designer shirt that you think you need, or the $175 jeans that already has like 5 rips in it. It's like you paid $100 more just to get the rip. I'm cool. Look at this rip. Look at that rip. Look at this rip. Ooh. Right? It's like a rip everywhere adds $20. If you have it, there's freedom. There's freedom. That said, if you don't have it, you could get a whole wardrobe for $175. And if you need me to, I'll rip it for you. I will help you as your pastor in that way. As one of your pastors, I will help you in that way. The last wall, transportation. You need some form of transportation to get around, whether it's your own car, whether it's Uber, or even the San Diego transportation system. These are your 4 walls of defense. Again, there's nothing wrong with having a fun night out with your spouse, or a awesome day with your buddy, or there's nothing wrong with having nice things. But if those things come at the cost of having enough for your rent or utilities, then you've got to change so that your walls are protected, so you're not up worrying, is it going to come in? Oh my gosh, I still have 10 days left. I don't know if I have enough. You want to live unstrapped. Protect your walls. Here's the next life hack. Number 3, as Dave Ramsey advises, name every dollar. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this here, but here's why it's important to give every dollar a name when building a financial plan, as it allows you to see where your money is going. It helps you keep track. And like I said, you might not be good with numbers or finances. I would recommend that you go to everydollar.com. It will help you out a ton to help you track your money and name every dollar. But here's why it's so important to name every dollar. I'll give you a couple examples from my life. Sometimes these things creep up. We don't know. We didn't go to bed last night saying, God, could you give us a cold shower tomorrow? Both of us. We want a double blessing. Both of us want cold showers, God. Something creeped up today, right? We don't. But so what we do is we put a little aside each month just for miscellaneous items. We name it. Here we go, miscellaneous items. Do you know that teenagers like to have fun and live lives? It's shocking. But so what we do, we put a little aside each month so our kids can't do everything, but so that they can do something, right? We set a little aside each month to have family date nights. That said, these do not come at the cost of the basics. When it's gone, it's gone. No more fun for you. Any Seinfeld fans in here? No more soup for you. When it's gone, it's gone. We have to wait till the next month. Giving every dollar a name helps protect our walls and keeps us from overspending. You want to live unstrapped. Name every dollar and use technology if it will help. Here's the next life hack. Number 4, if you're going to go from strapped to unstrapped, create financial margin. Even if it's a little bit, creating financial margin is so important. It would relieve so much stress in people's lives. Here's a couple ways financial margin helps. Number 1, it will be up on the screen. It can help me stay out of debt. Now, I know this is shocking, but if you spend less than you make, unless it's a huge emergency that most normal people couldn't cover, if you spend less than you make, you're not going to go into debt. Now, according to a 2018 article from CNBC, the average credit card carried from one month to another is about $6,000. You might not think like that's much and that's not a big deal, but listen in, and it should be up on the screen. If all you did was pay the minimum amount on $6,000, it would take you 14 years to pay it off. Who wants to be strapped for 14 years? Sign me up, baby! 14 years, and you would pay almost $4,000 in interest. That is crazy. So crazy. Here's why. Proverbs 22 says this: borrowers are slaves to lenders. You see the wisdom that the Bible has about a topic that brings us so much emotion. It wants to help us navigate. Because you know what? The word slave sounds like a trap to me. Do you know in German, the root word for debt is the same as guilt? Guilt sounds like a trap to me, and I don't want you there. Obi-Wan doesn't want you there. We don't want you to live guilty lives or trapped lives. We want you to live in freedom. Here's another thing that creating financial margin can help with. It can help me get out of debt faster. Say you're in debt. Guess what you can do with your margin? You can attack it. Let's go back to that $6,000 example. That should be on the screen too. Instead of paying the minimum payment, if you just added $100 a month, just $100, you'd pay it off in 3.5 years instead of 14. And you'd only have $1,400 in interest instead of $4,000. 10.5 years of freedom. Just because you decided to create a little financial margin and pay off $100 more per month. But I will say this, interest isn't always bad. It can be wielded for good if you invest. For example, instead of getting into debt $6,000, if you were just to invest one time, if you say you got a lump of money, you got a bonus, someone gave it to you, if you just invested one time $6,000, did nothing with it for 30 years, you'd have over $49,000. Wow. Make sure you come back next week as we're going to talk about how we can use this financial margin to get ahead. Guys, I hope you're seeing it's so important to create financial margin. For some, think about creating some financial margin by cutting back on a certain area. You're like, you convicted me about the burritos. Yeah, can you go back one slide? So, yeah, you can take pictures, photos if you want. I'll know it's not me. I won't go like this. I'll know that you're actually taking a picture of the screen. So do what you need to when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, oh, great. Pastor Julian said now he wants the picture. And he's getting out his phone too. He's going to frame me, people. Now, I know he loves me. We love each other. We have a strong bond. Oh my gosh, he did it. Anyways, maybe you could eat out less. For some, just naming every dollar would help you realize that you have enough already. You have enough for some margin, and wisdom can win instead of your emotions. For some, maybe you're saying, I'm already doing all this and I still feel kind of trapped and strapped. Maybe for some, you're going to create margin by selling some things that you don't need anymore or that you don't want anymore. But no matter what, ask God to give you some ideas. God, you know my financial situation. Help me create some financial margin because you want to live unstrapped. Create financial margin. I get it. Adulting isn't easy. Why did we ever want to do it? When we were like 12, it's like, I can't wait. Now it's just like, 12, please, 12, please. I'll even go back to 3. I'll let mommy change my diaper if I need to, right? Adulting isn't easy. And a lot of times the reason adulting isn't easy is because of this thing called money. Because as long as you're strapped, you'll feel trapped. But I have encouragement. I want you to listen to these final verses in Proverbs 24 as we start to close. It says this, by wisdom a house is built. Through understanding it is made secure. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with priceless and beautiful things. Remember earlier when I said that Jesus, in that scripture, he says, if you start something but don't finish it, that people could laugh at you? If I can get personal for a moment, I think many silently suffer because money is laughing at them. You're strapped. See you later. See you next time you get paid, and then I'll be gone a day later, even though you'll need it for the rest of the month. I believe so many silently suffer because their money's laughing out the door. You're strapped. Instead of your money having the last laugh, I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but slowly, one strap at a time, you can start to have the last laugh. You want your financial house to be built, as the verse said, acknowledge your emotions, but let wisdom win. You want your financial house to be secure, understand where you're at by building a solid financial plan. You want your financial rooms to be filled, gain the knowledge you need to practice the life hacks that is in the Bible that will benefit you and your family. Believe me, I've seen it in my own life, I've seen it in others. Step by step, strap by strap, you can live unstrapped too. Let's pray.